Leadership is a growth journey. It's there is never a destination in leadership, and the more you think you know, then the more you begin to understand that there is still more to lead. And the intentionality we have, particularly with this section today, is to address some critical issues that I have observed that is kind of missing in our space, either in organization, in communities, in religious environment, in our homes, where there are silent issues or challenges that is affecting the growth and the productivity of an organization, of a system, which many times is not being said, is not being talked about. And sometimes people tend to want to just avoid engaging on what I call difficult conversations. But I have come to realize that difficult conversations, it's needful, particularly when we're in a world today where leadership has continued to decay. We've continued to see systems, structures, processes where it's a pain. When you begin, you read case studies, you read the news, you see what is happening around the world in different countries, in different organizations, both public and private organizations, even in our churches, our mosques, in different environment, our homes, even in other social gatherings that we engage ourselves. People are continuously taking advantage of others. People are not being able to lead with truthfulness and integrity, and systems are decaying on a daily basis. And I want to believe that the section today would definitely address some of these core challenges that I have observed. So please follow through, and please, you can always drop your comments on the comment section. We will definitely have a section where you can provide your contribution and ask your questions. This is a James Oil Leadership, and it's a great privilege having you joining us today. By a way of introduction, one of the greatest challenges in leadership today is that many leaders remain trapped at the positional level of leadership, where authority becomes more important than influence. I have come to realize that many times individuals, leaders, they are more focused around, wanting to lead, but they are missing some critical aspects because they are focusing more of becoming as a positional leaders, where authority becomes more important than influence and control replaces collaboration. Some leaders become so rigid in their approach that they create environment where people fear speaking up. It has become a challenge where you see in environment where people resist feedback. People don't want to accept honest conversation. In fact, the environment is not even created where accountability can thrive. We are failing to build psychological safety in our systems, in our organizations, in our home. You see, between spouse, between the husband and the wife, where these are challenges, between parents and children, between siblings, in communities, within our government. You are having situations where leaders are making decisions and the citizens cannot even ask a question. And this has become a major issue when leaders believe that leadership is all about being right rather than continuously growing. They limit both themselves and the people that they lead. I have also observed that many people have internal challenges that could threaten the growth and the sustainability of the organization. Yet, very few are willing to openly address this issue. And I don't know if you have also agreed to some of these observations I have made, but these are some of the observations, particularly in my years of experience within the developmental sectors, where I have seen that there are issues, within systems, within organizations that employees, that leaders knows that this might have a negative impact, but yet you hear people say, oh, I don't want to be the one to say it. Ironically, these silent issues continue to weaken organizational growth. It continues to damage team effectiveness. It reduces innovation and slowly erode trust within workplace. The problem is not strategy. And to be honest with you, and that's why there are some instances where you hear people say that culture eats strategy for breakfast, because sometimes we feel that, oh, the reason that business is not doing well, the reason that educational school, that system, the college, the institution, the church, the organization, the parastatal is not doing well is because the leaders lack strategy. It's because there is no vision. It's because we are not having better revenue, or profit is a challenge. But in many cases, this may not be the challenge. I have come to realize that many leaders have become too emotional, and they are so emotional to the level that they are attached to their teams, up to the point where they avoid difficult conversations. There has been a situation where people are lacking to provide accountability. They tolerate underperformance, and they struggle to provide honest feedback. And one of the things I have realized is that, under the 5 levels of leadership, the number 2 level of leadership talks about relational leadership, where as a result of a leader leading people through influence and being relational, you become sometimes emotional to the people that you are leading, to the level that you cannot tell them the truth. In fact, I have come to realize that sometimes people that are leaders that are relational, they become nice, and they cannot set boundaries in terms of what needs to be addressed and what need not to be addressed. In other instances also, many organizations and leaders, they have failed to create psychologically safe environment where employees or their followers feel secured enough to speak honestly, without fear of humiliation, without fear of being punished, without fear of being rejected or retaliation. And in many times, leaders at the production level, which is leaders that they are more focused on production, on achieving results, they don't care, and they create a system of fear. They create a system where feedback is not encouraged. And across organizations today, people are tiptoeing around the truth by avoiding a direct, honest conversations within a difficult and a sensitive subject. If these issues I'm sharing resonate with you, I would just like you to drop on the comment section. If this is resonating with you, but these are the challenges. When you look at systems, particularly where things are not going as it should be, you would observe that there are issues that people tend to know. And many times it might even be at the blind side of the leader, and people don't come out to share it. In fact, let me be honest with you. This teaching today is going to open up a lot of things, and the intention here is to give every one of us the courage so that you understand that if you are going through such challenges that I'm going to be unveiling, you are not just the only one experiencing this situation across the world. These has been issues and have been in different platforms under the leadership of John Maxwell, under the leadership of Dr. David Oyedepo. And I have had opportunities where I've seen situations where these are the problems that is affecting great organizations, that is affecting great institutions. There are several examples, and in this masterclass today, I will share one with us. You see situations where instead of leaders addressing the fact head on, leaders and subordinates, they use indirect language. They change the subject. Sometimes people sugarcoat reality. to avoid conflict and hurt feelings. Leaders are holding back difficult conversations to preserve comfort and relationships. Employees sometimes remain silent about concerns because they fear consequences. These are the issues that are going on. Teams avoid tensions, but in doing so, personal and organizational leadership transformation is being avoided. Everything may appear stable on the surface, but friend, underneath the table, growth is slowly suffocating in the organization. Risks is becoming heightened, and where honest conversation is being avoided, it's just a matter of time before it explodes to becoming something that cannot be curtailed. According to Peter Drucker, he said something, and it's very resonating on this subject today. He said the most important things in communication is hearing what isn't said. The most important things in communication is not just hearing what you are, is the things that are not being said. That's the most important things, because let me be honest with us. I have been in place of leadership, and I can tell you that many times the things that are not being said generally are the things that could improve the growth of the organization or could address some fundamental issues. And for you to be able to have an opportunity to hear them, you need to create the space. You need to create an environment that those things can be addressed. Transformational leaders, they understand that what employees, what team members, or their followers choose not to say carries more meaning than they openly communicating what they intend to say. But you see, where trust is lacking, this is what thrives. Silence in meetings, hesitation in giving feedback, lack of participation or agreement without engagement may not always signal alignment or a sense of loyalty. And if you're a leader, let me advise you, when you hold meetings and nobody is contributing and everybody is clapping that, oh, it's fine, I can tell you with every honesty, it's not fine. When silence thrives in your meetings, when there are no opportunities for people to engage, I can tell you that there are things that may be going on, and it's just a matter of time. It might explode, because sometimes you may assume that, oh, everything is fine. There is a sense of alignment and loyalty, but in reality it's not. And in most cases, it's a signal of fear. It's a signal of mistrust. It's a signal of intimidation, or is a signal of emotional disconnection. And it takes leaders, it takes you as a team member to be able to diagnose these issues, to be able to think deep and find a solution to it. This is why transformational leaders ought to lead with clarity and trust. Now, you may say, oh, but I'm not a leader. But don't forget, in our last section, I did mention to you that you need to build yourself as a multiplier, even as a team player. So even as a team player, you must be able to read the room. You do not need to hold the position, as I said, to lead. So wherever you are, you must be able to understand how are things being handled here and how you can influence towards the productivity and the effectiveness and efficiency of the team, and encouraging an environment that creates psychological safety. Over time, or in due course, I'm going to define what psychological safety is. Trust creates psychological safety. It gives people confidence that they can challenge ideas, ask difficult questions, share their concerns, and offer different perspectives without fear or punishment, or not being scared of being humiliated or rejected. But where there is no trust, And you see people just keep quiet. And when I mean trust, when people do not trust the leader, or the leader do not trust the people, when employees do not trust management, when members do not trust the pastor, when the pastor do not trust members, I can tell you a lot would happen. Clarity creates direction. So if you want to become a transformational leader, you must have both of these. Clarity and trust is critical, because with clarity, leaders, when they communicate expectations clearly, they provide honest feedback, and they remain transparent in decision making. They remove confusion and they create confidence with their teams. And this is the reality. Transformational leadership is not merely about charisma. It's not just being, oh, I'm a person of influence. Oh, I am a person of authority. It's not about your being charisma. No, it is about having the courage to create an environment where truth can be spoken with dignity, with accountability, and ensuring that empathy also exists. That is the kind of leadership we are striving to become. And every one of us, is important that we must make an effort. You must be able to create an environment where people can grow in that organization under your leadership through honest conversation rather than comfort-driven silence. When tiptoeing around the truth becomes a constant behavior, either in your home, either in the community, either in that office, in anywhere, when people cannot speak the truth and they have to sugarcoat issues, there is a challenge, because it's going to create an environment of tension and it's going to prevent genuine problem solving within the team. Let me be honest with us. Leaders who create trust without clarity, they create a comfort without performance. And leaders who create clarity without trust, they create compliance without commitment. Which one are you? Are you a leader that creates trust, but you do not provide clarity to the team? You don't give them the benefit of understanding how they will need to execute, and give them the platform that they can engage you for feedback if they're having challenges, and giving them that free space where they can provide feedback to you? Or are you the kind of leader that you provide the clarity but trust is missing because you are not leading by example, and so the commitment of your team is lacking? The responsibility of leadership is not only to communicate messages, it's not only to institute policies, it's not only to institute strategies, but the responsibility of every leader is to create an environment where communication and feedback can genuinely happen. Are you doing that? Are you engaging with your teams towards ensuring that this happens? As leaders, I want every one of us to ask ourselves this specific question, and it concerns me also. Please understand that this is a fresh subject and I'm learning also. So permit me, if as I'm looking at my notes and engaging with you on this, because we must be able to ask ourselves, are people silent because they agree, or are they silent because they are afraid to speak? Always ask yourself this question. Are people silent because they are fine, or people are silent because they are not willing to speak and they are scared? Ask yourself. And this takes me to the definition of transformational leadership. What is transformational leaders? Because if you don't understand, they say the definition of an item, it will be difficult for you to absorb or to get the benefit that comes with it. So transformational leadership is a leadership approach where leaders inspire people, leaders motivate people, they empower their team, they empower them to be innovative, they empower them to take personal responsibility, and contribute to the growth of the organization, creating an opportunity for accountability. That's what transformational leadership is. Transformational leadership moves away from what we call transactional leadership, where leaders are more personal. They are thinking about what is in for me. But as a transformational leaders, you are turning the wheel, you are changing the approach, because it's not about you. It's more about the people. It's more about the beneficiaries. It's more about the stakeholders. It's more about the larger community, towards leading with effectiveness, towards leading transparently, towards leading ethically and morally, towards doing what is right and empowering your team, not just leading by you alone. True leadership is not positional, it is transformational. It creates a safe environment for ideas. It establishes clear standards for performance, and it builds people while maintaining accountability. The question again for every one of us is this: are you leading by authority or emotion? Or are you leading through transformation? How are you leading? Sometimes it might be difficult for you to answer yourself, but can you build that level of courage in engaging people that you know can be objective to you and ask them about your leadership style? Can you be objective to ask people that how can we do better? What are we missing? What am I not hearing? What am I missing? There is an attitude I've learned from our revered mentor, John Maxwell. He says when he engages his team, he will say, oh, what is going on? What am I not hearing? Am I missing something? Because you see, as a leader, you must be able to create a space where your team can engage you genuinely, because you cannot see everything. Even our weaknesses, we cannot see it. But are you vulnerable enough to create an environment that would foster transformational leadership? And this is going to take me to 4 pillars of transformational leadership. And I can tell you, when you develop yourself as a leader in each of these pillars, as I can tell you that it's going to model your leadership to another level. Because as John Maxwell will always say, everything rises and falls on leadership. I listened, I heard some very important information from Dr. David Oyedepo. Now, please permit me, for those of you that you hear me calling Dr. David Oyedepo, I don't call him Bishop, because I am at the academic wall. I'm currently understudying my master's program with the Covenant University, so we refer to him as Doctor. And most of his leadership models and models has been transformational. He said something in one of the courses I did during the week. He said, when there are challenges, when there are issues, there are 3 questions he asked himself. And I would like every one of us to ask yourself those questions. He said the number 1 question he asks himself, he tells himself is, God is not to be blamed. In any situation, God is not to be blamed. The number 2 question he tells himself is that the devil is not the cause. And the number 3 is that I must ask myself sincere question. What have I missed? You see, as a leader, you must always take responsibility. You cannot transfer responsibility, whether good or bad, to people. When you take and you absorb responsibility by asking yourself the honest truth, that where have I missed? By telling yourself that it's not God, it's not any other person, and I need to ask myself, where have I missed this? Could it be that I have not given the team the needed support for them to have executed the project? Could it be that I have not provided the clarity the team needed? Could it be that we approach this and it is as a result of our failure, because many times we tend to want to blame others and failing to take responsibility. And that is not the mindset of a transformational leader. According to James McGregor Barnes, he introduced the foundational ideas of transformational leadership by distinguishing it from transactional leadership. Now, Bernard Bass later expanded this concept into what is now known as the 4 pillars of transformational leadership. And I'm just going to quickly run through this. We are not doing academic engagement here, but it's important to draw on these 4 pillars because it's going to help us in building the core objective of this masterclass, which is leading with clarity and trust. So what are the 4 pillars of transformational leaders? Number 1 is inspirational motivation. As a leader, you must be able to create a compelling vision. Transformational leaders, they communicate clear, inspiring, and meaningful vision that gives people direction and purpose. As leaders, if we are failing to provide that clarity, then it's going to be challenging for teams to execute every goal, whatever that they need to achieve. Transformational leaders help their teams to see beyond their daily tasks, and they connect their work to something bigger than themselves. Transformational leaders who fail, or leaders who fail to communicate vision, they create confusion, they create disengagement, and there is an emotional detachment within the team. People are energized when they understand why the work matters. Do you let them know? Oh, we are just going to start doing this now. We need to achieve this. We need to get here. But did you explain to them why it matters? People feel energized when you explain to them where the organization is going and how their contribution adds value. Do you create that opportunity for people? Number 2 pillar of transformational leadership is intellectual stimulation. Let me say this for young emerging leaders that are here. This masterclass is going to be of a greater impact to you as you continue to develop yourself. Please learn more on these 4 pillars, and it's going to transform you as a great leader. The second pillar is intellectual stimulation, which is encouraging innovation and critical thinking. Transformational leaders, they challenge people to think differently. They challenge people to question status quo. They challenge their teams to, to think and create solutions, to be creative, to question assumptions. They also create an environment where employees feel safe to ask difficult questions. They are willing and they are ready to challenge outdated systems. They ensure that people can contribute to the growth of the organization without fear. Please understand that where innovation dies is because fear dominates. If you are operating in an environment and there is no innovation and everything has to come from only you, then it tells you that fear dominates in that environment. When employees are punished for speaking up, organizations eventually stop learning, adapting, and growing. And these are the challenges. The number 3 is idealized influence, which is, as a leader, you must be able to lead by example. Transformational leaders do not simply demand values from their subordinates or followers. They model the values themselves. They become examples of integrity. They become examples of accountability. They become examples of professionalism, humility, and ethical leadership. They will not ask you to do what they are not willing to be held accountable for. They are not going to ask their team, but what do we see today? We see leaders that set the rules and they are exempted from the rule. What a mess. These are the challenges that we see around the world. We see in organizations. And as a result of that, we are having decadence in systems, in structures, in processes. People trust leaders whose behavior matches their words. Are you modeling as a leader that is transformational, whose behavior matches your word? Leadership credibility is built when leaders accept feedback. Leadership credibility is built when leaders admit mistakes. Leadership credibility is built when leaders uphold standard consistently. Are you upholding standard? Leadership credibility is built when leaders demonstrate accountability before demanding it from others. How are you leading? Employees and followers rarely follow titles. They will not follow you because you have a title. They will follow you because of the character you possess as a leader. Can we measure your character? Can we evaluate it? Will it pass the test of time? Will it pass? As a leader, you are leading people. How are you leading them? How are you modeling that organization? So if things are not going well, you need to ask yourself. The number 4 pillar of transformational leadership is what I call what is said here as individualized consideration. As a leader, you must be able to develop people personally. As a leader and as being a transformational leader, you must recognize that every individual has his unique strengths. They have their challenges, and as a leader, it is your responsibility to identify the core strengths of your team, mentoring them, guiding them, providing them the opportunity for them to become the best. You are not a leader to find the weakness of your team. And that is what a transformational leader does. Transformational leaders, they create accountability with empathy. They are kind, they are not nice. True leadership is not controlling people, it is developing them. This means that as a leader, are you willing to listen attentively? Are you willing to provide constructive feedback when the need arises? Are you willing to be corrected or to correct people respectfully? Are you willing to encourage growth? To be honest, transformational leadership is a journey. And this is why I believe that if we are intentional in building ourselves, in learning through these processes, and providing the environment where people can be and our teams can be confident and feel, can build that level of confidence without fear to give feedback. A safety environment where people can share their opinion, then we are already modeling to the level. But you see, it's even beyond just people giving opinion. The other part is, will you be willing to implement it? Because it's different from, you can give opinion. And I've seen many leaders that, opinions are accepted. And they will tell you that, it's just your opinion. And they move ahead and they still do what they want to do. Great leaders do not avoid stretching people. They don't say, I don't want to discomfort him. And that's the weakness of relational leaders. They say, I don't want to stretch people. No, but great leaders, they want to stretch you because they know that by stretching you, they are building up your ability to become more transformational. So please, I want every one of us to understand that leadership is a journey. And the more you think you know, the more you will realize that there is still more to know. My revered mentor, John Maxwell, this year, he will be celebrating 50 years in his leadership journey. In August 2026, he's going to be celebrating 50 years. And John Maxwell still learns leadership daily. He tells people that I'm not done yet. I still don't know yet. If you feel that, oh, you are now a leader, you don't need learning, you're already dying as a leader. I'm sorry. And when we say someone is dying, we are not trying to say physical death, but you are failing to learn what makes you the best. And because there are characters in us that sometimes can influence us to be more self-interest rather than transformational, it tends to focus on you, on personal interest than the need of others. And the goal of this masterclass is for us to address two major challenges. And this is the goal. Whatever that I've shared is just building on these two critical challenges that I would like us to address. The number one challenge is leaders that are failing to become transformational leaders and promote psychological safety. Because we have that challenge. So the goal here is that how do we address this? The second challenge I would like on this masterclass for us to address is leaders that promote transformational leadership. They promote the culture. They ensure that there is psychological safety. But they have become too nice and they are avoiding accountability. That's another weakness. So you have one end that leaders are not transformational. They are very autocratic. They are highly positional leaders. And these kind of leaders, we're encouraging them to build and become transformational leaders and create an environment of psychological safety. But we also have leaders that they are transformational, but they are also having weaknesses of not having empathy and accountability together. And the goal is to address this as we build our leadership through leading with clarity and trust. Now, in addressing the number one challenge, I'm going to be using a case study. Now, this is a live case study that occurred in 2015. And this case study is going to help us in addressing this. This is an issue of Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal. And that created a leadership and culture failure. One of the clearest examples of what happened when organizations fail to lead with clarity, trust, accountability, and psychological safety is the Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal of 2015. Now, Volkswagen, they aggressively pursued a market dominance. Volkswagen was created, is a German country that was created, company that was created, I think, around 1937. And they moved to the United States around 1955. And Volkswagen has continued to dominate the market beyond even the European and America and America. They were expanding in Asia, Africa, and Volkswagen was becoming a model. They have their brand of Audi and the rest, the Porsche cars and the rest. And one of the critical, goal or what make Volkswagen one of the best cars that people want to always go after is because they have the lowest, emission. Their vehicles provide the low emission impact that does not have an impact to the environment. And that is what they thrive on as their strength. And they have a strategy of pursuing market dominance through clean diesel vehicles. But there was a challenge. They created expectations and a tax, where they expect that every of the goals that they set to their teams is to ensure that they achieve a strict emission standard, because the United States, I think the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, one of the policies is that when vehicles are manufactured, they go through the test to test the emission rate and ensure that it is below the standard. And that was what Volkswagen thrived on. The second goal that Volkswagen engaged on their team is to ensure that they have a low production cost and engage on aggressive delivery timelines. Now, what happened? Because of this pressure, engineers of Volkswagen, they struggled to achieve these goals. They struggled. And rather than having all of this, what did the engineers do? The engineers created a software that deliberately cheats emission tests. So they created a software in these vehicles, and these vehicles are in millions of numbers. When these vehicles go through the emission test by the EPA, it passes the test. But while the vehicles are being driven, the emission is 40 times more than what has been tested, that is which is above what has been tested. And this had continued for a while until 2015, and everything got exploded. The scandal was eventually exposed. Severally damaging Volkswagen reputation, finances, their credibility, and global trust. That issue lingered to the level that Volkswagen lost close to 15 billion US dollars on legal fines, on penalty just in US, beyond other countries. Now, what led to this challenge? The Bennett issue is not just about the technical challenges. It's more to that. There is a failure. There are things that has happened that the leadership team had failed to identify. And this is what happened when organizations fail to create a safe environment. When organizations fail to create an environment of where people can engage objectively and honestly. And I will share some of the challenges that the Volkswagen scandal, which is called the Dieselgate scandal, revealed in addressing this. And I hope this is going to help every one of us as we go back to our organizations, as we go back to our homes, as we go back to anywhere, and as we are growing up in leadership. These are live. You can read about it, the Volkswagen Dieselgate. Go on YouTube and read about it. It's an open knowledge. The number one it created was that there was lack of psychological safety. Employees did not feel safe enough to say this target is unrealistic. That was the problem. So because of that, the employees couldn't feel safe. They couldn't achieve this legally, and they were scared to tell the management that this cannot be accomplished. Please understand that in a fear-driven cultures, people will hide problems. People will not escalate problems. Don't be a leader that you want to prove that you are hard, you are tough. Many things will be going unnoticed and you will not know. The number two challenge that this problem revealed is that there were unrealistic expectations without honest dialogue with the team, with the engineers, with the employees. No honest dialogue. The management were just after dominating the market. Volkswagen was already everywhere, so they still want to become the best. And there was no dialogue that what target we are setting, can people achieve it? So, and what are the targets? High performance, low emission, fast production, reduced costs. Yet, operational realities made these goals very difficult to achieve. These are the issues. And this is why when leaders create impossible expectations without encouraging honest conversations within their team, unethical shortcuts becomes more likely. The engineers were under pressure. They could not give, and we are not trying to encourage what they did, There were some criminal issues on this. The CEO resigned because he did not even know that this was happening. So it was not something that came from the management that, let's make this happen. It was just within a department. One unit created a blunder and it affected the reputation of the organization. See, when you create a tough situation in your system where you don't allow issues to be discussed, it could be something that the driver, the cleaner knows about. And if you don't create that environment for them to share it, it might just be what will destroy this organization. Are you creating a psychological safe environment? Are you setting up systems and processes that you know that is difficult for people? And how are you engaging them to get people's feedback? The number 3 challenge was there was a culture of fear and hierarchy in Volkswagen. Reports suggested that Volkswagen operated within a highly centralized and authoritarian culture where employees, they fear to challenge executives. They fear to deliver bad news. They fear to admit failures. When organizations and leaders prioritize obedience and loyalty over transparency, truth becomes suppressed. Don't just say, oh, my team is obedient, and you are prioritizing obedience and loyalty, and you are not allowing people to communicate bad news. You are not giving opportunity. When I came to Ghana, and when I was working in Ghana, and that was the first engagement I had with the team, I said, look, bad news, I have come to realize that bad news are not, communicate bad news. I created that plan when I was engaging with the team that please, because the more you give that opportunity and people are able to share bad news, is to help to address the problem on time. But when there is that anxiety or fear, people will just hide it. And before you know, that bad news become a damaging news. And it affects the reputation of the organization. I'm currently in Mozambique. For 2 years, I went through the same process, encouraging the team that I work with that please, let's always communicate bad news. The fact is that you may not be able to solve it, but someone above you will be able to solve it. But if you hide it, you are not going to help the issues. And that was a problem at Volkswagen. The number 4, there was weak ethical leadership. Ethics may have existed formally within policies, but performance and reputation appear to matter more in practice. So it's not just about having policies, and that's why I say that sometimes it's not just by having rules and having policies. You can have all of the policies and yet the system and the organization things are not working well, because it's beyond policies and process. It's more to do with ethics of the leaders. If leaders are failing to lead by example, this challenge will exist. And if you are part of the section last month when someone was asking this question, where he said he has a leader, I think he was referencing to his pastor in his church, that he offers advice. And I was telling that person that this is exactly the topic we're going to be dealing today, because these are problems. People will say, oh, we will do this, and they are not doing it. And I was telling that person in that section the last time that you need to have a difficult conversation with them. You need to have an honest conversation and see how can this be addressed. People ultimately follow what the leaders reward, not merely what the leader says. It's not by what the leader says, it's what does the leader reward. When leaders fail to model integrity consistently, organization ethics weakens over time. Are you in that situation? The number 5 is there is poor cross-departmental communication. I mentioned it earlier, where the engineering department and other department, they fail to communicate among themselves. And this is because the people had problem, collaboration was weakened, accountability was not there, and the risks multiplied silently, and it became a challenge. Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal is an example of challenges we see in organizations today, among many leaders, among many religious institutions, among many political systems. The scandal will not have occurred if leaders were leading with clarity and trust, where employees can genuinely engage leadership without fear, speaking truth on what is possible and what is not. We have an opportunity to review our leadership approach by ensuring trust is embedded. Do you know there are parents that their children cannot be honest with? There are parents that they feel that by your children being afraid of you, they want to prove hard on their children. And you are distancing yourself from your kids and they cannot even be objective and share honest things. Even when they make mistakes, they want to hide it because they know that you are going to handle them in a very harsh way. We need to review ourselves. There are some spouses that they hide things to their partners, not because they want to, it's because the way the other person will react. There is no empathy. Yes, accountability is critical, but do you model empathy into it? And these are the challenge. Let me run through the second challenge. The second challenge is where you have transformational leaders promoting psychological safety, but they are avoiding accountability. So the first one, as I said, is where it is lacking. And I use the Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal as an example. Now, this is the second one where transformational leadership exists. Psychological safety in an environment where people can ask and share their concerns exists, but the leaders are failing to hold people accountable. And that might also be another problem. Psychological safety is the shared belief that a team or workspace is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. According to Amy Edmondson, she's she's an Harvard lecturer. She's written a lot of books around psychological safety. One of her books is The Fearless Organization, I think. Yeah. Psychological safety is a belief that people can speak up, ask questions, admit mistakes, voice their concerns, and challenge ideas, and even contribute honestly without fear of humiliation or punishment. That's what psychological safety is. People are able to genuinely engage. But let me be honest with us, one of the greatest misconceptions in leadership today is confusing psychological safety with comfort. And that is what we see. Many leaders, they become too nice and they are failing to hold people accountable. My CEO recently said, being nice is not always helpful. Being kind is better. Being nice is not always helpful, but being kind is better. I was listening to a podcast by John Maxwell, some of the coaches in John Maxwell, Chris Godin and Perry, and the same thing. They were talking about being nice, and I was like, wow, this is an issue in US, everywhere. This problem happens everywhere, so don't think it's an African problem. This is a global challenge where you are having leaders that are transformational, but they are just becoming too nice. Parents are becoming too nice. Politicians are becoming too nice. Subordinates and followers are becoming too nice, and they are not willing to be kind. Now, what's the difference between being kind and being nice? Being nice often avoids discomfort and accountability. That's what it does. Oh, you feel that people say, oh, he's nice, but they don't want to say the truth. They will sugarcoat it. They will not hold people accountable. They will tell you the reason why they are not the cause. They will say, oh, I would have done it, it's because of the policy. They don't want to absorb the leadership responsibility. What a failure. And we see it daily. I was speaking with my wife recently that somebody did something. I was like, wow. And it just tells you that, look, there are challenges in organization. I'm telling you, where leaders are becoming too nice and they shift blame to everybody without them. Why being kind involves honesty, it involves wisdom, it involves courage and genuine concerns for growth. Kindness creates an environment where people feel valued while still being challenged to improve. Please understand that psychological safety is not the absence of accountability. It is the presence of respectful honesty. It is. And please, you need to understand that you need to stop being nice by telling people what they want to hear. Many times, you just want to tell people what they want to hear. Rather, start telling people what they need to hear. Be kind to tell people what they need to hear. and not what they want to hear. But when you are being kind to telling people what they need to hear, share it with clarity and honesty. Please let me know if this is adding value to you. If people only tell you good things, only on your tasks and performance, something is wrong. A nice leader wants everyone to be comfortable, while a kind leader wants everyone to grow. Don't think that leader that is being nice wants your growth. And let me be honest, sometimes that leader is also, they are not doing it intentionally. It's lack of growth in leadership. They feel that by being nice, they are showing love, but they are denying you of your growth. So when you are around kind leaders that are able to tell you honest truth with love, please appreciate them. People like that are scarce to find. Nice leaders avoid difficult conversation, while kind leaders, they do have difficult conversations through clarity and honesty. Nice leaders, they give soft and vague feedbacks, but kind leaders give honest feedbacks with care. Please do understand that psychological safety does not mean avoiding difficult conversation. It does not mean that you will lower your standard. No. The fact that you need to create an environment where people can engage openly, it should not mean that you are lowering your standard. You are avoiding difficult conversation. Psychological safety does not mean you are tolerating poor performance. No. And that is what makes you a transformational leader. Psychological safety does not mean you are agreeing with everything, being overly emotional or conflicting on issues. No. And this is why it is important as a leader for you to understand that how best can I then build psychological safety and ensure accountability by doing as a leader. And there are a few points I have put here that will help you to institutionalize this, build this in your leadership as you grow into that. Number one, please normalize honest conversation. Build the courage to normalize honest conversation as a leader. Feedback should become normal and not be seen as a threat. Being silent on issues as leaders is not safe and it does not impact growth. Create a platform where feedback can be offered and you are able to give feedback. Number two, lead by example. You should not only be the leader that you can give people feedback. You must be able to lead by example by allowing people and those below you to give you feedback. And you are willing to accept and put it into consideration. As a leader, you must always ask yourself, what am I not seeing? Ask your team. Give people the opportunity. As I said, John Maxwell, that's one of the things he does. Ask people, what am I not seeing? Where do I need to improve? Because see, we all have our vulnerability. As I'm speaking to you here, I have my vulnerability. I'm not complete yet. There is still a lot for me to ingrain in my leadership. So if I come to tell you that I know these things, I'm lying. But you see, you need to ask yourself. You need to give opportunity for people to hold you accountable. You need to ask and avoid being defensive and ensure that concerns, are accepted and the right things are done. Number three, you must separate correction from condemnation. The fact that you are providing a difficult conversation for people, please understand that you need to also respect them and do it in a dignified way. Number four, please reward transparency. You must be able to investigate issues. Not just punishing people for raising concern, but investigate it and respond to issues constructively. And number five, please balance empathy with accountability. If you are leading in any organization, accountability is not a threat. Accountability is to help you. I'm telling you the truth. In the James Ray Leadership, I think in our coaching program, which is the Elevation Growth Cycle Masterclass, I had the full section with the participant, and it was transformational on why accountability is critical as you continue to model growth. Is critical, and don't see accountability as a challenge. Therefore, as I conclude this evening, every leader, please, I just want you to evaluate and check yourself. And please understand that you have choices to make. And one of the choices I will encourage you is that, or you must continue to ask yourself, is that, do I protect comfort or do I pursue growth? You must be able to ask yourself, or should I remain silent or do the way I desire to do it? Or should I prioritize being liked, or do I prioritize transformational impact? The choice is on you to make. Either you want to protect comfort or you want to pursue growth. Either you want to remain silent or you want to speak truth with wisdom. It's your choice. Either you want to prioritize being liked or you want to prioritize transformational leadership. But please understand this, that leaders who avoid honest conversation create an average culture. And leaders who embrace truth respectfully, they create transformational culture. The future belongs to us as leaders who are courageous enough to speak the truth. The future belongs to us who are humble to receive feedback. The future belongs to us who are emotionally intelligent enough to correct with dignity. The future belongs to us who are disciplined enough to uphold standard consistently. Please understand that transformational leadership is not about avoiding tension. No, it is about guiding people through it towards growth, towards maturity, towards accountability, towards innovation, and towards sustainability of the organization. I want to appreciate us for our time this evening, and I want to believe that value has been added.